5 minutes early, you're on time. You're on time, you're late. And if you're late, I'm closing the door and locking it and you can't come in. So now we go and find out what's going on in the world of AC Boise. And our friend Nate Miller, who is the man in charge, we got a lot of things to talk about. And he is gassed up and ready to go. So are you gassed up and ready to go?
I'm gassed up and ready to go, John. How are you?
Good to see you, my friend. Where are you right now?
I'm in Boise. I'm ready to go I'm taking off to Panama today for a scouting trip. So
Whoa. Panama?
That's right. Players come from all over the globe, John.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I know this, but you get to go down and catch up with folks in Central America in person. When you started this whole thing, it's like, okay, did you have like the big Animaniacs map and sit there and go, well, I want to go here, and here? I mean, the scout walk me through this scouting and this field trip, man.
Well, yeah, this one came up from a couple of agents I've worked with in the past that I've been fortunate enough to bring in some good young players from different countries, especially African countries, but they have a really good network in Panama, and Panama is a country that's producing a lot of very good young players. The league is extremely young. Some of the teams we're visiting, the first division teams, the average age is like 20 years old. And there's a lot of players coming out of there now, but like, I think it's important to get to markets before they're, extremely picked over and discovered. And so looking for some specific profiles, they have some great athletes that are being produced down there. And so, yeah, I think for me, what I've learned is if you want the best guys that fit you, the best profiles, the best prices, you got to go to the source. So you can't just sit behind your computer. So that's what I'm doing. Don't be too jealous, though. My flight itinerary, if you look at it, I'm leaving tonight. It's not going to be the prettiest trip, so you don't have to be too jealous of my travel itinerary.
Well, but I mean, if you were to, post pictures on the social media and sit there and go, hey, if you did if you did an airport diary of, hey, I'm here in this airport. Now I'm in this airport. Now I'm in this airport. Now I'm actually watching a match. I just have this vision now of an itinerary that's like 19 pages long, transferring about 9 different times in flights. I imagine it's either Boise to Denver or Boise to Houston, and then flying from one of those locations into Central America, maybe a stop in Mexico City, or are you getting the Nate Miller special where it's like nonstop from Boise to Panama City, Panama?
Yeah, on a private jet. No, to be fair, at first it was kind of what you were describing, and I went back. I was like, guys, I don't know about this. And credit to them, they got me to Boise to LAX straight to Panama City, so it's not going to be terrible.
Okay, just like I said, through
the night. It's through the night. So
okay, because I was just making sure that it wasn't like 38 stops and all these kinds of things. Yeah. What has it been like for you to assemble something from scratch where you can take a flight from Boise to LAX to Panama City?
Oh man, it's a long process. Fortunately, this is my 3rd time doing it as an expansion team, and so I do love it. There's something sick about me with that. I do love it, but it is a great, it's so unique, right, to our soccer culture here. Expansion teams, like in other countries, people don't really understand what you're talking about, and so, what do you mean the club didn't exist before? That doesn't make sense. But it is a great opportunity because every single player that you bring in and everything that you're building is what you want. And if there's a mistake, it's on you. There aren't players coming in where you're trying to move on and you're stuck to guys on contracts. It is like a very unique moment. And so I take it very seriously because I know all the work that we've been doing the last few months and even now, and we're not going to be done till mid preseason, late preseason, with players on trial, is that will pretty much dictate most of your happiness or unhappiness as an individual for 10 months. So you better get it right. And so I know the ups and downs of a long season, and so more than the players that we're looking for, I know the type of men I'm looking for, because you spend a lot of time together and it's a long career and the seasons are long, and you have to really, first of all, trust the players as human beings first, and then really enjoy who they are so that you can build something that it is different and is unique. And building culture there's no better opportunity than expansion teams, because you're starting with a blank canvas, as you know.
And, so Nate Miller has completed breakfast and he's getting ready for a long day as he heads to the airport eventually before he heads to Central America, hanging out with us here on the morning show. When you have those initial conversations, you mentioned obviously that there are folks that may not necessarily understand. It's like, no, we're new at this because they're used to dealing with clubs that have pedigrees of decades and things like that. Do you experience any added stumbling blocks when it comes to trying to convince players to come to a location in either of your three startups? Because there's well, do you want to be something? You want to be a part of something new? What do you mean new? Is there any kind of stumbling block when it comes to trying to convince players to be a part of something like this?
Yeah, it's a great question, John. I think that in our country, so players have been around the USL. It's not like that's something they're used to. Like they know of expansion teams all the time, and so it's not like this super unique thing. When you're doing international recruitment, that is, yes, I think I've only experienced players going like, "Wow, that's really cool. Like that would be a great opportunity," because you feel like, someone's starting something for the first time and someone's coming and saying like, "I want you to be part of it." Like there is a level of like, wow, like it's an honor. You know what I'm saying? And for me as well as a coach, for Boise, it's been easy is not the right word, but it is how the club, the infrastructure, like when you show someone we're building a stadium, like this is happening right now. We have sold out all of our season tickets already. Like they catch on pretty quick that this is a serious club. These are serious people, and this city is buzzing. And so, who doesn't want to be a part of something like that? And so, I think that is not really an obstacle at all. Now, at other clubs, I think it could be. And every expansion team I've been on is very different, and each city is very different. But this city is also like growing extremely fast. Like a lot of people are moving to Boise. And so I hadn't really thought about Boise too much before the last year at all. But it seems like there's, the city is exciting, a lot of people moving here, and the club is doing things the right way. And so when you can show people a vision of now and in the future, off the field and then on the field, of this is who we are, this is exactly how you fit into that. I think when you give people like a very clear windshield, is this is where we're going and this is the seat you're in and this is why we want you, I think you get really good responses from that.
Yeah, and it takes a special kind of individual who has a special type of internal constitution that gets, regardless of whether they understand the USL dynamic or an expansion franchise dynamic or not, it takes a special individual to come into a situation like this outside of the on the field stuff that you're looking for philosophically, that they fit what you're looking for. They've got to understand that it might not be 32-0 out of the blocks. There might be some lean times where you're on a roadie that you're playing 3 times in 12 days and you hit a rough patch, and you've got to navigate that as a first year team. So you've got to be looking for special folks that have that understand what it's like between the ears as much as what you're looking for them on the field too.
Absolutely. That's well said. And I think just to add on that, I think that that's not just expansion team. That's because something that's so unique about our league in the world is just the travel. And so like having players really understand that this is like you have to show up to away games, as you just mentioned, in the right frame of mind, because some of these travel days are no joke. That's why I think it's important to build your core with USL players who understand that. Because if you come from, let's just say you come from Scotland, right? Your games are like hour-and-a-half bus ride max. And then all of a sudden now you're trying to get from Boise to our first away match is Sarasota. Like that's like, that's a serious trip. So that's one of those things where it's like you have to get used to it, and you need players who've lived it so they can kind of guide the other guys.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you're going to be taking the Nate Miller Airways PGA from Boise to Sarasota for that first match. But and we kind of joke about it, but that is part of the deal. It's like understanding how your body responds going from one end of the planet to the other, and knowing that you've got to be ready. If you're going to have this short cycle of games, okay, I'm only going to play you 60 here. Don't take it personal because I need you in 4 days, in Chattanooga when we're hopping on more flights and going from point A to point B. It's like, and having the players almost put their ego aside a little bit that don't understand the idea of the hops and the games and 3 and 14 days and those kinds of things. It's like they've got to understand what they're getting into as a part of this. And that might take some time.
Yeah, that's it. And I think so much what I've learned, like to be a top coach, to be a really good manager of people, like like people talk about communication all the time, but how you communicate with your players, how regularly, in what format, how much of it is individual, like managing the group, their mental state, and just making sure you spend time with each individual, for me, is paramount to like how I view coaching. So on a very personal level, I've learned, especially with modern players, you can't assume that they understand things, so like understand decisions. And, you know, all these guys have built up a healthy ego to get to this place in their life. And so they're all extreme competitors. Now, on the flip side, the way I make sure that that's just from a structural standpoint, not as much of an issue, is that like in the USL, like I don't like super deep rosters. Like I like to sign like very like I like the players that we sign are playing games. Like I don't like having fake depth, meaning like, well, we have 3 players at this position, but you know, this player played 450 minutes in the season. That's not how I build teams. I really like to build teams where you have, I call it 15 starters, like guys who are like, everyone's so invested because everyone's a part of it. And so I think part of creating that culture and that togetherness is making sure that how you structure the roster is one that like everyone who's here every day is playing a big role. And especially in the USL, I really believe that that's super important. So yeah, that's a big part of it.
How long did it take you to like the idea internally of, yeah, I'm a short bench guy? Because I mean, there are folks that will sit there and, you know, whether, you know, if you want to bring in the college basketball analogy, they'll sit there and go, yeah, I don't mind doing a fire wagon change and I'll swap out and I've got a second wave and all this kind of stuff. But there are some guys that have been very, very successful in college basketball, as an example. This doesn't go, nah, I've got like my 1 or 2 guys. I play with 7 and I'm cool with that. And everybody else knows that if it ends up as the next man up, then they're called upon. How long did it take you to get comfortable with that idea of, yeah, this is who I am. I'm a short bench guy?
Yeah, I think like from a football style and identity standpoint, I'm not a pragmatist. Like I very much want to entertain, and we play expansive football. From what we're talking about right now, it's just like pragmatic learning, like what works. And what works is like, instead of having a second number 6 who isn't of the quality that I want, like my starting number 8 can play there too. And so my point is, like, I think there are guys that if you do recruitment right, can play in multiple positions and can cover, you know, in different away games. He can play here. This center back can also play in this position. And so you obviously need depth, but that was just for me learning over time what worked for me, what worked for my teams to be successful, and kind of what made the group better. Now, it's not to say we don't have depth. We do, but my point is, like, I'm not looking to have too deep everywhere and go next man up. So I think that with how we train, I think you can create a lot of understanding from players on, you know, so that a player is well equipped and has the tools to step in to do like a slightly different role on any given day.
And you've got 5 new guys that you've signed, and it was a bulk buy. It's like it comes out on the release. There's like 5 dudes, and I was like, okay, you're not wasting any time. One of the names that came across in the release, familiar to folks in this footprint, with Jake Dengler. A lot of folks in the Southeast know Jake and his time. The 5 guys that you signed, for those that might not know all 5, what did they bring to the table as a part of your roster dynamic? What do they bring to the table there at Boise?
Sure. So, well, we've actually signed 15, but we haven't like announced them all yet. So, I actually
want to break some news here.
I don't think people would be too happy with me if I did, but no, I'm trying to remember who's been announced. As you can imagine, that's not really my world. There's a whole thing to that, but I believe so. We obviously brought in Blake Bodley, who is a Boise native, who I've coached in the past in San Diego. And to be fair, like, we're very fortunate to have Blake. It's a big signing. He would start on any USL championship team. He was one of the most sought after free agents. And so previous relationship with him coming home, this club doing things really well and being at a high level club, I think really helped bring him. You mentioned Jake Dengler. That was me in the last 6 months just watching the league. I actually didn't know who he was. And every time I turned on a Naples game, I'm like, your first time you watch him, I just thought he was like a classic 6'5" center back, good on aerial duels, tough, but he can really play. And what I really love about him is that he has like an indoor background. He played a lot of indoor. And so his ability to like play close to pressure, use the bottom of his foot, be very comfortable with the ball, usually don't see that in the lower leagues from a player who's 6'5". And so I think that he brings a lot on set plays as well. And we have a set play specialist in Charlie Adams, who we've signed. And so as you put together your roster, you need to have very complementary pieces. And I think who Jake is and his strengths with the other, Jake Krull is our left center back, who's a very ball progressive passer. He's been a very good player in this league. And he's a player that is very good at coming out with the ball in the back. And then we'll have another center back with a ton of pace to complement those guys, so we can play with that high line and be really aggressive and pin teams in. And so Jake is my calls with Jake, my video calls with him went really well. I was really impressed with what, he's in his prime right now, but he really wants to push. He feels like he wants to take big next steps, and maybe he needs to be in an environment where more is demanded of him. And I'm going to demand a lot of Jake. And so, but he's a high performer in this league. And I think that's important to have in year one.
6'5" in a phone booth doesn't hurt. Jonathan Ricketts and Nick Moon were the other two.
Okay. Yeah. Ricketts is a player I tried to sign in San Diego twice. He is a really first of all, amazing leader, amazing human being. At data wise, he's always pops. It's interesting. His dual rate, his ability to break up play, he's a very reliable and consistent player. And so he's a flexible player that can play across positions. He can play as a wing back. He can play as a right center back in a 3, both sides, fullback. So again, telling you about how we're talking about how to build a roster. That's a player that can do he can fulfill a lot of roles you ask of him. Okay. And who is the other one you mentioned?
Nick Moon.
Nick. Yeah. Nick, I go away. Obviously I've coached Nick twice. So I coached Nick in Lansing and in San Diego. And he just came here from Tampa. There's no one in the world that loves Nick Moon more than I do. I think on his day, when he is flying and when everything is right in his body, he's an unplayable 1v1 player, just unplayable. So I think that's a player for me that I know, there's just certain guys that work for you and work for them in your environment. And I tell this to players all the time, and not just players, everyone. The secret to a successful player in a club, it's right player, right coach, right club, right time. If one of those things isn't right, there could be a really good player out there that you don't see much from. But if all those things are right, players can really, really flourish. And Nick has always been like that for me. And I'm really thankful that he chose to come here.
Nate Miller, head coach at AC Boise, before he travels to Panama. And how long are you down there, by the way?
4 days.
Okay, so let's see. So if you're leaving today, so you're back on Monday?
I'm back very late Sunday night, and then we have a closed door trial on Monday and Tuesday.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I was gonna say, Friday morning East Coast time let me check my grid here. Well, 10:30 Friday morning. East Coast time, if you're in Panama and you just happen to be at a game scouting players, you could always hop on.
Sure. Go ahead. We can work it out. We can do it live from the stadium without using
That's what I'm saying. Look, from 10:30 to 11:05 or beyond, we are wide open right now.
Go ahead. I'm up for anything. Let's do it.
If you've got miles and points, and your phone service and the Wi-Fi in Panama works, you can sit there and say, this is me live scouting dudes, and this is me walking down the streets in Panama City, Panama, having lunch.
Yeah, I'll just send you my Verizon bill, and we got a deal.
I thought that went upstairs, and not it goes upstairs to the administration. No, I was promoting the club. I was showing what we're doing with all of this money that you're investing in me right now. Nate Miller hanging out with us as he's getting ready to hit the road for AC Boise. You mentioned data, and how much of a data guy are you when it comes to looking at players? Because you can't register garra, you can't register heart and want to and all those kinds of things, the emotional aspect of it, through data. How much does data play into what you're looking for when you're trying to assemble a roster?
Yeah, I just had this conversation previously with someone, and I think it's a great question. And I think that our soccer culture, really sports culture, is so used to just saying data as if it's this overarching thing. And it's when someone says that, I'm like, what do you mean? What exactly are you talking about right now? And so I think that, and the key for me is data definitely has its place, but it has to be a comparable situation, meaning like it is very hard to compare, like, let's just use Panama, for example, that league to the USL Championship if there's never been any player movement between the two and no comparisons and no precedent. Like someone who maybe is not experienced with what they're doing could say, well, he looks good on the data. And I'm like, okay, compared to that league and compared to those players and where have they gone? How does that league stack up to this league in terms of strength, but also of style? And so it's like, I think you need to have like a very comparable data set to say like, okay, this player is really like strong in data. So, but if we're talking about USL, just the USL ecosystem, it can be very helpful if your tools are good though. Like I think that there's a lot of data tools that aren't very good. Like I think we just see the output, but like I am always asking like, what's going into this? Like I want to know what the back end is, because at the end of the day, the data is only as good. What comes out is only as good as like what it's using. And I think sometimes some tools I've been super disappointed to be like, well, I disagree with like how they're like even calling it what is a duel, So I think there are certain like really good data, like there are really good like tools out there, and then there are some poor ones, and it's an industry that's really growing, and I think there's so many options out there, and I think that you have to not just pick carefully, but also analyze the data correctly. I think the people that use data correctly get the data and then use it in context to what you're looking for, and I think that's a very hard thing to do. But I wouldn't, to me, I still really, really believe in like seeing what you're seeing, and I'll give this example. This is why, like, when you say a player looks good in data, like when you're looking at recruitment, you can see 1 year, his like pie chart is like this, like 98 percentile of everything. Goes to a different club, new coach, and it's like completely different. And so it's like, well, he has good data in the right environment, but in another environment, he's really bad. So my point is like, the data is just capturing what the player is doing on match day. And as we all know, it's a human business. What players do on match day has a lot, like, can change drastically based on what club they're at and what coach they have and the whole environment that they're in. And so I think it's very, very complex it's a very complex part of recruitment, but it definitely has its place.
Because data doesn't give you emotional and physical context.
Right.
And
and it's always changing, and players are always changing, and it looks like a data on the same player on 2 different years is way different. And so you can't just take the most recent year and say that's who this player is. You have to figure out what will he be like for us, and that's recruitment.
Okay. So Nate Miller, who has signed 5, he's actually officially signed 5, but he says he signed 15. He can't tell us the other 10. And he's going to Panama to recruit. And so I looked at the Clausura schedule, which apparently is kicking off this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend, match day 1.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Round 1 has, let's see. So if today is Wednesday, so there's one match. The Clausura kickoff is on Friday night. And then there are 3 other matches on Saturday, one Saturday afternoon, one Saturday at dinner time, and one late. And if you are going to make your flight, you will not be seeing Alianza and Tauro on Sunday at 7:15. So there are 8 clubs that are going to be playing by the time you get down there, unless you're going to be watching Alianza and Tauro from the airport. Am I accurate, sir, in my assessments of the?
Yep, I'm looking at my schedule here. So we're seeing multiple games in one day. So I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm seeing 9 games in the 4 days that I'm down there.
Wow. Okay, so you're not just in the LPF. You're looking at like
a couple of them are the, like, 2 of those are like Costa del Este, like that's like the U21s of a team that I like. But yeah, so we're seeing one, Veraguas and Universitario. You have San Francisco and Union. You have Plaza and Sporting, Alianza and Tauro, all those clubs. So and a lot of those clubs have a lot of very, very good young players.
Yes, so. and we get to see them in the Triple C, the CONCACAF Champions Extravaganza. We've seen Alianza, we've seen Tauro, we've seen Independiente, we've seen San Francisco. But yeah, Veraguas and Deportivo Universitario is the kickoff in the Clausura. That is at 8:30 on Friday night. Okay, so I see how this works.
Yep.
In a perfect world, when you go down, What are you looking to accomplish? Is it initial relationships? Is it solidifying player transfers? How far down the road do you look to go in a situation like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. You never know what you're going to find when you're on the ground, and so you don't go blind. Like the people bringing us in, so it's an agent that I really trust that I've worked with in the past that's bringing us down there. They actually, they actually pay for the few coaches that they ask to come down, so they're kind of arranging the trip. So when we go down there, yeah, that they've done a great job. The reason you have to trust the people on the ground that they're connectors. You need to have connectors down there. You can't just go watch a game. So there's kind of like an initial list of players that, hey, we think these guys are available and we think that they're available to move and we think that they're players you'd be interested in. Now, when you're down there, anything can happen and you can see whatever you see, but you have to have like intermediaries, people on the ground, translators, people who can make things happen. And in different countries, that takes on different shapes on who those people are. There's, as you know, this is life. Like this is how life works, right? Like there are just people who are able to open doors and move things. And the more you're connected with those people, you have to have all that in place before you take on a trip like this, or else I think that it's not going to be the best use of your time.
I was going to say, it's like you're going to 9 matches. It's like, how are you getting credentials for all these 9 matches? You're paying for tickets and just wandering in, sitting in the end zone. It's like,
Right.
yeah, I'm going to go to all 9 of these matches. It sounds like, Ron Meyer when he was the head coach at SMU. We see 40 games on a weekend in high school, those kinds of things. I cannot thank you enough for this. Obviously,
Right.
on the flip side, when you want to announce the other 10 players, plus all the success that you've had in Panama, obviously, you've got a home. You can come in here and break news anytime you want.
Okay.
You know where the garage door opener is and where the key is under the mat. You can crash. All that we ask is that you get down there safely and that you take plenty of pictures, shoot a lot of videos so we can sit there and go, hey, here's what he's doing while he's one of those kinds of things. Cannot thank you enough for visiting during breakfast in Boise. Oh, that's a segment right there. Breakfast in Boise with you. We will catch up with you on the flip side as we get obviously closer and closer to the beginning of season number 1. Be safe, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, John. Take care. Bye-bye.
That's Nate Miller. He's the head coach at AC Boise, and he's putting up with all of our silly questions when it comes to building a franchise. So it was great to catch up with him and find out what's going on. But yeah, so Nate Miller is apparently going to Panama. And it's not like, 19 different stops or anything like that. But apparently, yeah. So he is going to be down there for the first 5 matches of the first division. And his last match apparently is going to be on the 18th at 7:15 in the evening. And then I guess that's when you get out of town.